It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Expresso here on SABC3. This morning we are joined by Infectious Diseases Specialist Dr. Emile Reid, who's back to answer all of your burning questions regarding the COVID-19 virus, like are masks really protecting us from the virus, and should you retest after your isolation has ended? Well, Dr. Reid has all the answers here.
Doc, I'm going to jump straight into it because we don't have a lot of time and we've got so many questions. So let's kick it off with the first question, which I think is still a hot topic. Are masks actually working or not? I'm hearing theories about the fact that it's reducing our intake of oxygen, it's allowing us not to operate efficiently, and then I'm hearing counter arguments. So what does the professional say?
Well, masks are amazing, and masks are assisting us, together with social distancing and sanitization, to get through this pandemic. And as said earlier, this virus is spread via droplets. So you can imagine if we have a mask, it actually is the first line of defense, which means that specific droplet will be caught up in the mask and not go out to actually infect other people. And that's why we don't like masks with these little holes in, because the virus can actually escape through there. And also, if you do wear a cloth mask, the important thing is to have at least two sort of levels and layers, and you might sort of be able to put in something to protect between the two of the two layers. And the important thing is that surgical mask and also the N95 mask is really only for use of healthcare professionals. People suffocating because of masks, probably using not the correct sort of type of mask. So if you use a cotton, for instance, probably the best jeans, denim, cloth type of mask, and not to use vinyl or plastics in any way.
Okay.
Yeah. Many masks not only for yourself, but for the people around you as well. When it comes to having tested positive for COVID-19, do you have to retest again to see if you're COVID-free? And also, what precautions do you take after that?
Well, the answer to that is no. You don't have to retest. And the reason why is the following. In studies that have been conducted in hospitalized people that are very ill because of COVID-19, after about day 9, they couldn't culture any live viruses. Oh, wow. Now, if you look at the test we use in order to diagnose COVID-19, it's a nasopharyngeal swab, checking for the RNA of the virus. And sometimes the RNA is still present, which means the genetic material is still present, but the virus is non-viable. So it's almost like us digging up the graves of our grandparents.
Corona fossils.
Finding their DNA, but they're no longer alive. And that is what sometimes happens when these tests are repeated after, say, a week or two. You find that patients are still positive, but there's no viable virus at all. And if there's no viable virus, you are not infectious in any way. And having said that, obviously the problem is that 80% of people who contract SARS-CoV-2 are asymptomatic. 15% become sick, and only 5% becomes critically ill. And that's the problem. So a lot of people are walking around being positive, not knowing that they are positive, and therefore spreading the virus. And hence the reason also why mask is so important, because if you're asymptomatic and you wear a mask, you're not going to infect people around you.
I definitely think that is the unintentional, the unintentional terrorist right now, is the asymptomatic patients that are unintentionally spreading the virus. Now,
exactly.
It's a fact that we're in the second wave and a lot of us have been infected, and currently Mzansi is infected. So what is your suggestion when it comes to eating, my diet, things to maybe take into account and incorporate, and things that I should maybe stay away from when I do have the virus to make it a little bit better?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to actually know that no food stuff, vitamins, minerals, etc., can prevent or cure COVID-19. it can only support your immune system to get stronger in order to fight this virus. So people that are ill, people that are critically ill, struggling to breathe. And as you know, if you struggle to breathe, you actually lose and use a lot of calories just to breathe. Because breathing under normal circumstances is a passive exercise, and whereas when you are ill, breathing becomes active. So we find that people requires probably 5 times more energy when breathing and struggling to breathe than if they are not ill. So high proteins needs to be taken in, low sugars, low salts, etc. And the most important thing is that to remember is that when you're ill with COVID, cannot smell, cannot taste, and a lot of people lose their appetite. So you have to almost like force feed these patients because they do require the energy in order for them to breathe and in order for them to get better.
We have a question here from a viewer of ours, Oti, good morning. My question is, what precautions are recommended for graveside funeral services during COVID-19?
Well, I think that's been a horrible feature of this COVID-19, because none of us who lost loved ones during this time could bury them in a traditional way. And unfortunately, there are 2 major risks. The one is contracting COVID from the person who passed on. So in preparing the body for viewing or for burial, you need to take the necessary precautionary measures, wearing gloves, wearing specific clothes, wearing mask in preparing that body, and immediately afterwards throwing away the clothes and also sanitizing. The second component of funerals are known to become super spreader events, because a lot of people attending the funeral are usually not aware, as we said earlier, that they're actually positive for the virus. So one of the recommendations is you need to look at alternatives. And we know virtual funerals are in, but it's probably the coldest thing you can do. And if you do want to have a grave site or a church service, to keep it small and to only allow people within the family, in the bubble, in the household that you stay, to actually console one another, because they are already in a single bubble already. They can drive together to the gravesite, etc. And there should be no mixing of different bubbles or family members from different places, because we don't know their status in any way. So sanitization, keeping physical distance is of extreme importance, with only the household of the member who passed on being together as a single bubble.
Well, Dr. Emile Reid, I can't thank you again, and our numbers are going absolutely crazy. So Infectious Diseases Specialist Dr. Reid will be answering all of our questions on the coronavirus live after this. So stick around for that. And we'd like to thank you once again. And obviously every other individual as well has sent through these questions via our social media platforms. And remember, you can give us a call on 021-110-5552. The number is busy though, and it's coming in hot. But of course, stick around. We'll be answering all of those questions.